Hi, in this video I'm going to review two shoes. While these shoes are not necessarily in the same class, these are two shoes which for me were created a difficulty in what shoe to wear for different trails and activities I did, and that is why I'm comparing these two really different shoes. The one is a Merrell Chameleon 2 Flux, and the other is the Adidas Raven, I think it's an Adistar, yes, Raven shoe. Now, neither of these shoes are bad. That's the first thing. Let's get that out of the way. These are two very good shoes. If you are interested in buying any one of these shoes and you're not interested in the other, you would still be able to watch this review, as I do review the shoe, each shoe as well. So let's start with the tread pattern. The Merrell. Now, yes, I understand the one shoe is a bit cleaner than the other, so don't let that offset your view of the Merrell. Okay, the tread pattern. The Merrell tread pattern is the tried and tested. It's got these concentric spheres. A very good tread pattern in terms of if you put your foot down on the ground, it feels like you've arrived. It's got a wide profile. It's quite flat. If you look at the profile, it's got quite a flat nature there, and also the sideways profile. It's also flat. How good is this in the outdoors on uneven ground? It's still good. You see, the benefit of this shoe is it does not lend itself to easily manipulating by the rocks or uneven ground. So if you stood on a rock here, the actual shoe wouldn't actually compensate. Now that is a good point, but it's also a bad point, and I'll explain to you why. In terms of the heel, again, a platform. It's like when you put your foot down here and there's an uneven ground, this shoe will not just absorb that uneven ground. And you will not get any, say you stand on a rock, you won't feel the edge of the rock coming through the shoe. So this is a well supported shoe. This rubberizing here is high quality. Its stickiness is very good. In terms of wet surface support, this is good. I've done several hikes, not particularly with this shoe, but with an earlier Merrell, but it had the same tread pattern, and I was very happy to walk on wet rocks with this tread pattern and this on this Chameleon shoe. The Chameleon I had was actually the leather shoe, and I did several hikes in it, and although it's quite a heavy shoe in terms of like if you had to compare it to something like this, a trail running shoe, also still a very good shoe. So that's the Merrell rubberizing here. And then in terms of its rigidity, yes, it's rigid. In terms of its flexibility, surprisingly, it's got a cutout here. It actually is flexible. Would I use this as a running shoe? No. Would I run 2 kilometers? Yes, no problem. Would I choose this shoe? Would I choose a different shoe just because maybe there's a hike I want to do and there's a stretch that I'll jog in? No, I would still use this shoe. It's not so bad as a running shoe. I mean, one can run in it. It's not very heavy. And I will compare that to the Adidas. So that's the shoe there for you. And then it's got this toe, this curls around here, the toe. Okay, so let's leave that one now. Now we look at the Adidas. This has got these little bumps. And inside the bumps, it's got grooves. Very good traction. This is one of the best traction shoes I've ever worn. And one of the nice things about this shoe is, say you go into the gym and you run on the treadmill, which is not ideal what you'd buy a shoe like this for. It's not, while it's got excellent traction, you're not going to hear so it's not a noisy shoe. And I have had trail running shoe that when you try and run on a treadmill, you can actually hear it 20 meters away. Alright, although I know that's not the purpose of the shoe, is to run on a treadmill. Okay, so let's look at this tread pattern. Very, very good. Just as sticky as the Merrell, maybe even better. Look at the profile. It's actually rounded. So if you look at the profile, it's actually got a rounded profile. It's actually wide. Very wide profile, and the width here It's a little bit narrower than the Merrell, but again, also rounded. So it's like the profile at the bottom of the shoe has got like this, almost like a it's like a curvature. And that's quite interesting, because if you compare it to the Merrell is quite a wide shoe in terms of the tread. I mean, if you compare it here, I'm getting 12 centimeters, and the Adidas, I'm getting 11. But where the Adidas makes up for it, I'm getting 9 at the heel of the Merrell, and check at this. On the Adidas, I'm actually getting, it's actually 10. I've actually pre-measured this, and it's 10. And you might be thinking, how about I'm not pushing this right to the edge? Well, actually it goes rounded. And when you step, this thing actually compresses in. So the shoe actually compensates quite a lot for uneven ground, which is again a good thing, but also there is a negative to that. So in terms of comparing these two shoes, yes, the Merrell is a flat foot, more rigid outer sole, so you won't feel little stones and bumps in the road or the trail, whereas the Adidas, you also won't necessarily feel those things, but it does compensate. It literally, the sponging here does a very good job of actually compensating for uneven ground. However, if the because I went on a hike, which was an 11-hour hike with a climb, and some of the parts of the hike there was actually stones, literally corners of stones, and you can actually feel it to some degree in the shoe. Now, I wouldn't say it's something that like you're going to be able to define the shape of the stone. You're not going to be able to say, oh, I stood on a pentagon-shaped stone. But the point I'm trying to make is this shoe is more susceptible to you actually feeling the ground perturbances, even though it's got this much padding. And I feel like it's got a little bit more work for your ankle, this shoe, while the Merrell, not as much. Now, moving on, which shoe do I think's got a better traction? I would have to give it to the Adidas. The Adidas has a better traction, especially if you like going going down a rock surface which is almost vertical. The Adidas, because it can compensate so well, you actually feel like, you know, the shoe actually almost beds. A rock can actually bed in the shoe, and the grip is actually improved. Whereas the Merrell, if I'm going to fall from quite a high height, I know I'm falling with a flat foot, which has also got a benefit. So the Adidas is definitely no slouch in terms of the traction. I would say it's slightly better. In terms of the quality of the rubberizing, it's excellent. I did have a concern that this tissue, I don't know what this is called, this foaming, it's their proprietary product. It feels very soft. I almost felt like after my use of this shoe there would be tears in it, but so far there's nothing. So it seems to be okay, although the shoe is still fairly new. Alright, so now we've got that. Now, moving on. Looking at the shoe, if we had to compare these two in terms of running, would you choose this Merrell for a running shoe? No. Could you run in it? Well, very short distances, yes. And you can have a look at the shoe. Whereas if you look at the Adidas, can you see how the nature of the sole bends upwards? Now, this curvature here is actually very clever, because the shoe is still quite rigid. You know, if you're buying a running shoe, you want it to be quite flexible and easy to bend, so it's not requiring your foot to do extra work. But where they were clever here is that they actually molded it at an angle like this, so it still maintains a fairly rigid response, which is nice because for a trail run instead of a road run. So it does offer some support there, but on the other hand, it's already curving up, so you don't catch your feet on things, and it's actually its resting position is almost like mid-run, if you can see that. I did do a hike in this shoe, and I had some concerns. My first concern is, would the shoe's materials hold up in a treacherous hike? And this was a hike in a southern African country, and there were jagged stones and rocks and so on. And my main concern was with this area here. So this brings me to this part of the review, which is to do with the materials used. Now, where my main concern is here. This is like a single layer of like a type of, almost like a sheeting, like a plastic sheeting. And I was concerned that if I scraped this on a rock or it got caught and it tore, that literally is the end of my shoe. It did scrape a bit, it didn't tear, although I was careful about it. So in terms of the material quality, yes, this is high quality. I don't think this is going to tear very easily. The toe area here is shielded. It's also rubberized. It's also got this piece here, which is very good for trail running and hiking. And then again here, this is where my concern is. Inside the shoe, there's nothing. It's literally this material, same. So it's like if this does tear, I don't feel like there's a nylon backing to actually offer additional support. So I would be worried if this actually tore. So I would actually warn people, careful of scraping the shoe on a rock here. And specifically, if you can see it is the same width as the shoe. It's not like here at the back where if you look at the sole is wider than the casing, the material here, whereas here it's actually not that much wider. So if you put your foot down and there's a rock here, you will scratch this, and it's actually almost like a corner here. So that's where I say the Merrell is actually a better fit. If you're going on a trail and you feel like there's going to be a lot of cutting and scratching, this shoe, the Merrell, the materials are very high quality. I've got this ribbing here, offers a good what do you call, like a tensioning here, but underneath I can actually feel inside the shoe there's a nylon. So if this tears, I do feel like this nylon is still there, so it's almost got like an additional layer. While it has also got this toe protection here, it's also this water protection here. So I would have to give it to the Merrell in terms of materials. At the back, it's also, you feel like your foot is protected here. If there was something sharp on the root, I don't feel like I'm in any danger wearing wearing a shoe such as this Merrell. But then I do acknowledge that this Adidas is a lighter shoe. This is a light shoe for that it's a trail running shoe and that you can actually do a hike in it. Normally hiking shoes are quite heavy, and this Raven actually scores for me a 10 out of 10 in how light it is. This is actually as light as a premium running shoe, road running shoe, and yet it is for a trail run. So I've got to say that Adidas have done a very good job in getting the weight of the shoe. It really is good. Now, I've discussed the materials. Obviously you can see the shoelaces. This is a very premium nylon. I was actually impressed, and look, I can't take away from the Merrell shoelaces also. I've been wearing Merrell since 2001. Since 2004, and actually I have never had a shoelace snap since then. And so both shoes have good materials, although as I did mention my concern in this area. In terms of comfort, I give it to the Merrell straight away. This is a shoe that as you open the box, you put it on and you're done. You don't have to wear it in or worry about blisters or anything like that. In fact, I wear this shoe as a slip-on. I tie the shoe. The last time I untied this shoe was weeks ago, and that's maybe if I'm going to do a trail. But if I'm wearing it as a daily shoe, I actually just wear it as a slip-on. And that's how comfortable this shoe is. And there's a lot of space in the shoe. My foot has room to move, and if I want to make it tighter, I'll make it tighter, then the shoe will hold my foot nicely. That for me is a bit of a fail with this Adidas. This shoe, even when I've loosened it, it's still tight. I literally have this thing that tight. I mean, like that's how I wear the shoe. So, and it's tight. So this is a real tight fitting shoe, and I feel like they could have opened this up a bit. Maybe I should have ordered an 11.5 to get a wider shoe area. So I feel like it's almost like wearing a very tight sock. Like you put on a folk sock, it's like on you. Whereas this shoe, you don't feel like there's something like on you all the time. And yes, if you're going on a hike, that's not a big deal. You'll tighten it. But in terms of a daily shoe, if you had to wear this daily, you would actually need this thing stretched out a bit before, it's like your foot can breathe, especially around the sides. Okay, in terms of comfort, as I said, I'd give it to the Merrell. But in terms of comfort in the vertical position, like how comfortable the sole is, it's the Adidas. This shoe is extremely soft, and that's not always a good thing, but it's like an even soft. It's almost like you're walking on a cloud. And when you walk, the shoe absorbs a lot of the bounce. It's got a lot of sponginess. I don't know how long that's going to last. In fact, I was actually stunned at how spongy the shoe is, but right from head to toe. It's not like it's just spongy here. It's literally spongy right even over here. I don't know how long that's going to last. The Merrell, on the other hand, has more like a silky. If I feel the inner sole, it's almost got like a silky feel. Your foot can actually move within the shoe, whereas this one, your foot almost doesn't move. And that's something you'll have to consider when you're wearing this shoe for the first time. You may get a blister, whereas this shoe, forget it. I have yet to get a blister from one of the Chameleons. So someone actually said to me, wear the shoe in before you go on a 10-hour hike, and I actually did, and my foot was sore in certain areas, specifically here and on the heel. So this is a shoe that you need to fit. You can't just buy it on the internet and say, yay, this is great. You would need to actually check that this shoe is the right fitting for you. Now, in terms of the inner soles, let's compare the two. Both pretty useless. They're literally just a layer to protect you from the bottom layer. That's it. They offer very little support. Both are now hairline thin. If I had to bring a vernier, they're both useless. There's almost no support in these inner soles. In fact, the Merrell, brings me to another criticism on the Merrell. Is I don't know what has happened here, but this particular version of the Chameleon has almost a zero toe to heel to toe drop, whereas my older Merrell had like a 10mm drop. This one seems to be pretty much a flat shoe, and I don't actually like that. I actually like a heel to toe drop. I almost feel like the heel area is almost collapsed, and this shoe is still pretty new, and it was like that from when I bought it. So I would actually now be looking at an inner sole which has actually got a raised heel area. So I don't know if this is a different model from my older one in terms of, I know there was a air cushion inside the older one. I don't know if they've done away with that, but there's definitely missing heel support in this Merrell. While the Adidas also does not have a sufficient heel to toe drop, but because the shoe is so soft in terms of compensating, it actually doesn't bother me. So that for me is a win on this Adidas. Right, now let me discuss the main problems I have with this shoe. Narrowness, material, the lace, the storing of this. I feel like this thing is loose. This thing should have been more elastic. It's like I put it in there and I don't feel like it's actually going to stay in there. This thing could have been more elastic. I'm a bit concerned about this. The next thing is water gets in pretty easily. If you're going for a run and there's reeds or plants or it's a wet day, your sock will be wet, and it'll be wet quite deep into the shoe. So this shoe, while very breathable, is also very open to water getting in, but then the benefit is that it's also very cool. So comparing it to the Merrell, you've got a lot more water protection here. Walking in wet grass does not leave your foot soggy. So the Merrell offers superior protection in terms of the elements, but then it is a bit of a warmer shoe. What would I buy this shoe again? Say this shoe was lost and this shoe is literally 3 weeks old. Would I rebuy this shoe? The answer is yes. In terms of trail running, this is a very good attempt by Adidas. I'm very happy with this shoe. It's not as narrow as the Solomon. I found I can't wear the Solomon. While this one is quite narrow here, the Solomon is even worse. I feel like the Solomon is like walking on a narrow plank that's tied to my foot. It is just too narrow throughout the shoe. It's one of the reasons why I don't like the Solomon, which is great for some people, but for me, I need a wider shoe. But where the Adidas has failed is they've made it too narrow here on the foot area, whereas at the heel it's perfect. Great for running, very comfortable. The traction is excellent. Only time will tell how well this material actually lasts. The Merrell, this is an excellent daily shoe. I would wear this for a hike. If the hike has more than 2 kilometers of a jogging stretch or a running stretch, I wouldn't wear this. I would rather go with the Adidas, because the running is much better. It's a much better experience, and that's it's not putting the Merrell down. This is not a running shoe, whereas this is supposed to be a running shoe. And that brings me to the end of this review. So thanks for watching. Oh yes, and just one more thing. This has got plastic eyelets, which is also very good. And here, where you pull the nylon, it's got a steel eyelet here, and the Merrell is got this nylon eyelets here, and then the steel here. Both very good. No criticism on either of them. You can't put it through the tongue. There's no tongue, whereas the Merrell, obviously you can put it through the tongue, keeps the tongue up a little bit there. And that brings me to the end of my review. Thanks for watching.